Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, we meet the women of Belarus who've decided to take on Europe's last dictator with the support of many of their fellow citizens. We'll also be talking to Josina Machel, the daughter of Graca Machel and stepdaughter of Nelson Mandela, who lost the sight in her right eye after being assaulted by her then partner. Josina is now passionate about changing societal attitudes towards domestic violence. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a group of bloggers are determined to challenge gender stereotypes. But we begin in Belarus, where women have played a key role in the opposition to President Alexander Lukashenko's re-election. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya was the main challenger in July's disputed election against the man known as Europe's last dictator. She's one of three women who fronted the opposition's campaign. They, in turn, are inspiring others to join their movement.
Of the three women that led the opposition campaign against President Alexander Lukashenko, not one is able to keep up their presence at street protests. In their absence, women like these are guarding the front line of protests, forming human chains, defending journalists, and standing up to riot police to protect male protesters. 73-year-old Nina Brinskaya has become one of the movement's key figures. Her efforts begin here in her living room with what she calls her weapon. She's making more of the red and white flags, which have become the symbol of the opposition. She says she has no doubt that the elections were fixed.
The rest of the world needs to know what's happening here. They're starting to kill people again. They used to do it in secret. Now they're doing it in the open, without any fear.
This is one of the videos which has made her famous. It shows her squaring up to riot police, trying to retrieve the flag they confiscated from her. Tens of thousands have taken to the streets in recent weeks, breaking the government's ban. Among them, many women who had never protested before. This student was driven to join the movement by openly misogynistic comments made by Lukashenko.
The official media don't show any of this, so I show this to my mum, my grandma, to those who don't have access to the internet.
Official media are keeping silent, and most foreign journalists have had their accreditations revoked. In this light, social networking platforms have become an essential window to the protests.
Now to South Africa, which has long been haunted by gender-based violence. In recent months, during lockdown, the country witnessed a significant rise in domestic violence, with scores of women being killed by their partner or ex-partner. Josina Machel is a long-standing human rights defender and the daughter of Graca and Samora Machel, the late president of Mozambique. She also is the stepdaughter of Nelson Mandela. As well, Josina is the survivor of domestic violence, having lost her sight in one eye after being brutally attacked by her then partner. Yet again, proving that nobody is exempt from the risk of abuse or violence, regardless of status or privilege. She joins me now from Johannesburg. Josina, thank you so much for your time. Let me start by asking you what actually happened to you all those years ago.
So on the 17th of October 2015, I was in a car with my then partner, and we had a slight disagreement as to where we were going to spend the night. And he got aggravated and he started insulting and beating me. So I received one blow to my face. The second one hit my eye, which blinded me immediately. And the third one was actually at the back of my head. And at which point I then decided to run and ask for help. After that, we started a whole process of hospitals, police stations, and so on, in which I then encountered second victimization when my documents were incomplete, or after that, they kept on disappearing for a very, very long time. And that is how I got then initiated, let's say in the worst word, but I got initiated into the struggle against gender-based violence. It was by realizing that if I, in my personal capacity and with the with the support of my family, I went through that kind of horror. I don't want to imagine what women who don't have the names that my parents have to help them.
Josina, I would say most people, if they experienced the horrors that you did, would struggle to find the ability to take on not only their abuser, yet alone the entire legal system. So how do you find the strength?
I would like to believe that I gathered the strength from watching the struggles that my parents, both Madiba, Samora, and Graca, have embraced. I believe it was part of my destiny that I embraced a different struggle, not for colonization, not for freedom of our countries, but for freedom of women, and women who are at the lowest when they are being abused. Their dignity has been completely stripped away. And that happened. I want to believe that I went through the experience so that I would know in the skin what happens to millions of women in this continent and in this world, and I would be able to take the fight personally, which is what I did.
Now, you've created this movement to basically advocate for women's rights in the field of domestic violence. What are you hoping to achieve?
We want to create mass mobilization so that everybody understands in this world that gender-based violence is a crime. It's a crime against humanity. It is intolerable. It can never be normalized. But that needs to have both women and men understanding that and engaging it. We want to ensure that the judicial system becomes a lot more transparent and accountable when it comes to sentences of victims of violence. We want to ensure there is accountability and that perpetrators of violence are punished and they see their day in court and that their sentences accordingly to their crimes, that there is no corruption, there's no cultural interpretations that are giving around issues such as a woman dying, a woman being raped. Rape is a crime and it needs to be dealt as such.
Josina, the sad thing is that you are not alone. It's a common story, not just in your part of the world, but across the globe. But is there anything particularly about this issue that is specific to African culture?
Look, I would not want to say that violence is specific to African culture. Violence happens in cultural settings, in religious settings, in secular ones, and it's an issue of men's power against women and men being able to exert their power, their wishes, and everything that they want on women without actually being accountable for it and without actually taking responsibility for it.
But there are such deeply entrenched attitudes towards the treatment of women. Would you agree is going to take generations before we see a shift as such? And what will it take for that shift to actually occur?
I think it's the consciousness that women are of value and that men cannot just do as they wish. But I agree with you. It's a systemic issue that we're dealing with. The same way we started fighting with colonization, colonialism a few years ago, the same struggle that we're still having with racism. We are going to find a lot of resistance when it comes to the issue of gender-based violence. But we need to be encouraged by facts such as women are starting to report a lot more. More states are actually developing and adopting legislation when it comes to gender-based violence. Yes, I might not see the end of this war by the end of my life, but at least we have started. We are garnishing support. Young people are also in this struggle of fighting against gender-based violence, and so we are sure that at some point we will win this war.
Graca Machel, it's been wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Annette.
Now, staying in Africa, the idea that women should take on the bulk of domestic responsibilities remains widespread. A group of bloggers in the Democratic Republic of Congo, however, have been questioning traditional gender roles and stereotypes. They have now launched a campaign to promote a more positive model of masculinity, as our team in Kinshasa report.
For Lumia, it's a special moment with his little girl.
Et hop. Ah, tu vois, elle est tombée.
This kind of playful father-daughter bonding isn't common in the DRC. Unlike many Congolese men, Lumia thinks it's not just up to women to take care of children.
C'est tout à fait normal. Si l'homme peut faire le bébé, pourquoi pas changer les couches du bébé?
Lumia and his wife Cynthia share all the household chores, from cleaning and buying groceries to cooking.
Bravo, bravo.
But other people's reactions aren't always easy to deal with.
On nous dit, vous êtes des homosexuels, vous voulez que les hommes deviennent des minimes. Donc, en quelque sorte, on est en train d'insinuer que les femmes sont des minimes, sont des petits, sont des riens. Et cette conception-là, malheureusement, elle est dans beaucoup d'hommes.
A bloggers collective called Habari is trying to change traditional perceptions about gender roles. A new campaign called Vrai Mobali, or Real Man in Lingala, is aimed at raising awareness about sexism. The drive shares information on social networks and in face-to-face weekly workshops. So far, most men have eventually become receptive to change, but many first struggle to challenge their views.
Est-ce que vous avez dans votre message, dans votre contenu, tenu compte du fait qu'il faudrait essayer d'encadrer la femme, que la femme ne prenne pas le fait de l'homme d'être vrai mobile pour un acquis et rester dans sa zone de confort et puis ne plus rien faire.
Organisers are trying to deconstruct stereotypes about manhood and develop an understanding of positive masculinity.
Notre culture congolaise nous a incarné certains comportements qui ne sont pas vraiment des bons comportements. On ne perd pas notre masculinité en aidant la femme. On ne perd pas notre masculinité en promouvant la femme.
Habari wants these values taught from an early age and has asked the Ministry of Education to include gender equality in the school curriculum.
And that's it for this edition. You can also connect with us via our Facebook page, that of course being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. So until our next show, bye for now.